Georgia on the logo, celebrating back-to-back Nats. Perfection wears red and black tonight. 15-0, the Dogs have done it and won a second consecutive national.
Oh man, oh man, oh man, not again.
Lead flicker to get the night started. Downfield looking for Godwin, into his hands, and guess which Dogs are barking first? Uga, get after it.
Sonny Michel will send the Dogs home to the championship game.
And Bobo throws that thing in the end zone and...
Yes! Touchdown! Touchdown in the goal line!
Sigue Ringo, corta dentro, Ringo, touchdown! Georgia!
The Georgia Bulldogs bludgeon their way to back-to-back. Glory, glory. Georgia, as the fight song says.
This is our love for each other. 1 + 1 = what? 3. We are better together and we are connected.
This is Robert Iron E. Singleton, a.k.a. D-Dog from The Walking Dead, or Alton from The Blind Side, and you are watching Respect the Hedges on the Fan Addict Sports Network. All right, guys, go Dogs, sick 'em.
What's going on, Dog Nation and Respect the Hedges family? That's right, we're back in here for another episode of Respect the Hedges on the Fan Addict Sports Network. Man, listen up. Dogs are 5-0. That's right, we 5-0. Another dub for the Dogs on the road, first road victory, and we're going to talk about it today, man. But as always, we are presented by the Tailgate Kings. That's right, man. We got us an important SEC victory against our oldest rival, the Auburn Tigers, War Eagles, whatever they're calling themselves, on a different day of the week. But hey, 2-0 in the SEC, more importantly. So it's good to come away with a win, man. And we're not going to belabor this thing, man. We're going to jump right into it. Of course, y'all know how we do. We have a special guest for y'all today. Oddly enough, he was on the show this same time last year, almost to the day, man. Let's bring him in, man. Listen, former All-American offensive lineman for the University of Georgia and Super Bowl champion, Jon Stinchcomb. What's going on, Stinch?
What's happening, fam? How's everybody?
Hey, man, we're good, man. We're good. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Dogs are undefeated. They got a road win. Didn't play pretty, but they came away with a W, so it's always good to be a Dog, but when you're the number 1 ranked team in the country and you're undefeated and you still haven't played your best ball, there's a lot to feel excited about. I mean, there's stuff to clean up, but these are the glory days, and I'm happy to be a Dog in them.
That's right. That's right. Before we bring our cast of crew on, man, just a couple of things, man. Let you know we want to talk about the offensive line just a little bit. You played the position at a very high level, man. Just talk to, like, we've had a lot of injuries this year. Just tell the people how that affects, like, the cohesiveness and the performance, because I mean we've all seen how our offensive line has performed so far.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Amarius Mims is our best offensive lineman, and he's been down. So with the shuffling of the board, I think it gives you opportunity to kind of develop some guys. Obviously, Dylan Fairchild has gotten more reps. Mm-hmm. Micah Morris has gotten more reps. They're getting better. You see signs of life from them, but it's like looking at a first-round draft pick or a third-round draft pick when you evaluate these guys, right? They play good ball, but the expectation is this might be the best offensive line in the country coming into the season. They haven't played that way. So haven't lived up to that billing yet, but yet they're still playing good ball. I mean, you look individual by individual. We got a first-time starter at left tackle, and he has his ups and downs. We've got some guys that coming into the season, Tate Ratledge, Cedric Von Pron Granger, and Amarius Mims are all guys that are like, this might be, you're looking at top 3, top 5 player in their position and potential first round, obviously, in Amarius Mims. So guys that are highly rated that have played good ball. You see flashes of excellence, but that's not how you evaluate an offensive line. You evaluate an offensive line as a group, and the performance has been up and down. How does an offensive lineman get paid? With consistency. And right now, we don't have that yet. And I actually think Xavier Truss moving out to tackle has been a good move for him. He's proven capable. Now, he is not Amarius Mims, but I think he struggled early on at guard for the offensive line. So it actually gives an opportunity for Fairchild and Micah Morris to come in and kind of compete. And then when you do get Amarius Mims back, then you got 3 guys kind of battling it out, or at least eligible to compete for that starting spot.
Okay, so before we bring the guys on to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then preview Kentucky, let's talk about the difference in pass protection and run protection, because while we have had a couple of breakdowns in pass protection, it seems like our pass protection for the most part is, on point, for the but we don't get as much push in the run offense. So like, is that just harder to learn, or it seems, I don't know, from an outsider that's never played the position or whatever, it seems like pushing somebody forward or backwards would be easier than to be retreating back, trying to keep them off your quarterback.
Yeah, well, we struggle with movement, and when you play a lesser opponent, you should expect it, right? They're not gonna stand in front of you and let you tee off on them. So,
Gotcha.
We're playing the UABs of the world and Ball State. Those guys are moving. I mean, it's slants across the defensive front. They're bringing pressures from the linebacker level. We call them dogs. So they're bringing this dog pressure, and we haven't done a great job of adjusting to it. Usually in the run game, when you see that, right, you've got line movement, you've got linebackers that are shooting through gaps. If you're in a zone and everybody's on the same page, you can really crease some defenses that way. And we've seen that at times, but it's just that consistency piece again, where, who was it? 90 for South Carolina, 50 for Auburn. I don't know their names. Those dudes were making plays consistently. So, it's like, what are we doing here, fellas? If y'all want to be the best, you've got to perform like the best. And it's been spotty at times. It hasn't been consistent.
Yeah. Gotcha. Bringing in our first co-host, man. You know who it is. It's E-Rob, man. What's going on, E-Rob?
Coach, what's up, baby? John said it, man. You said it too. Listen, my dogs are 5-0. You know what I'm saying? It seems like we've moved the goalposts. I remember there was one time we just wanted to win every game. Well, we're winning. You know what I'm saying? It may not be beautiful, whatever. Find a way to win. I'm not going to let Bulldog Nation bring my joy down. I am happy. We're 5-0. We're moving in the right direction. We got a lot of moving parts, a lot of injuries. You know what? I just want to quote the great orator, Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. We won the game. We're winning the games. So let's not worry about style points. Let's just win. We'll worry about all that other stuff later. That's all I got to say. I'm off my soapbox. On to the next person.
That's right, man. Hey, to the coolest fan in the land, man. It's Cool Cal. What's going on, Cal?
Doing great, man. What's going on tonight, fellas?
Hey,
good to see you. Good to have you on the show again, John. I mean, he summed it up beautifully. I see the same things with the offensive line, and just to kind of come back at you, E-Rob. It is great that we are 5-0. I don't think anybody disputes that, but I think our goals are much bigger. And I think that now we look down the line a little bit to see how we're going to compete more on the national level than game to game. And I just think that that's what people more so look at. How are we going to be able to compete on down the line? Are we getting better each week? Are we protecting better? Are we blocking better? Is our quarterback getting better? Are we tackling better? So I just think that those are the things that I see. And just a quick tidbit, like I was out of town this past weekend and somebody came and said, oh man, he saw the Georgia stuff on. Oh man, y'all barely got by. I think we have this perception now because we have been so dominant the last couple of years that when we don't look like that, people have questions. So that's all it is. We have questions, but we just want to get back to where we want to go.
That's right, man. And we're going to get into some of those questions on the down line. Bringing in our next guy, man. It is Shouty Thad Parker. What's going on, Shouty?
Fellas, what's happening? What's happening? Hey, John.
Brother.
What's up with you, man? Your name should have been Benjamin, man. Like you aging backwards. What shit? What's going on with you?
Dad, you got to come around me more. I need a personal hype man. Make me feel better.
Man, you looking good, dog. You looking good, man. You looking good. Got that field tone or something?
It's all just for men. Comes in a little box.
Hey, are we able to ask him a question now? Or we're gonna get into it a little bit later, Coach.
We're gonna get into it a little bit later.
All right.
Yeah. So we're gonna bring our next guy in, man. It's our guy CA, man, Corey Allen. What's up, CA?
You're muted, brother.
He know.
Oh, there we go.
You know what I'm saying? It's at our first rodeo.
Switch the headsets on me.
Yeah, I lost my headset, man. I'm at a disadvantage. You know that's my secret weapon. But glad to be here. 5-0. E-Rob been prepping for this argument all weekend. I'm so sick of looking at these messages, man. Be trying to prove this point and send me all this footage. I ain't watched nothing. I hit I know what he gonna say. Click right off.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about it. Yeah, I seen so much homework in the chat. I said, you know what? Let me just say this because he already coming low. John, good to see you. Good to see you, John. Love to have you. Excited to get your opinion. I definitely agree on, being strong at the point, but that rotation does matter. So we got a lot to talk about. It ain't all bad, but we'll get through it.
That's right, man. That's right. So we're gonna start out this thing, man. We talk about the good things first, man. Let's talk about the good things first. E-Rob already touched on some of it. I want to say Brock Bowers was 8 catches for 157 yards and a touchdown. And now they are like the talking heads are really starting to talk about him in the Heisman race, which they should have been doing in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So just some things that E-Rob has already shared with us, in the group chat. Carson Beck was 23 of 33 for 313 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Nationally, our passing offense is doing pretty good, fellas. Our passing offense is 10th in the nation with 332 yards per game. Carson Beck is total yards passing is 8th nationally, 1,497 yards. And 299, almost 300 yards a game. That's good for 9th overall. And Ladd is back, fellas. Ladd is 5 targets, catches. Ladd is back, my man. So scoring offense, we're averaging almost 40 points a game. Good for top 15. So E-Rob, anything you want to add to that before we get into the bad?
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep this short on the defense. So I'm gonna talk about the good on the defense. Really wasn't much good. Everything up front. I watched a couple of things. We had linebackers running the wrong way. We were getting outflanked consistently.
I thought they would do good.
Boy, so I don't understand why. I don't understand why I'm not hearing more from Bulldog Nation about how this defense is playing. I'm hearing just offense, but the defense is not playing well. The one good is Dalen Edwards made a great play. Pretty much saved the game on that back shoulder to get that ball out. I think it was 3rd down, big conversion. And then, of course, Malachi Starks ended the game with that pick. Great. That's the good on the defense. Everything else is, I don't want to talk about it. But offensively, real quick, Coach. Real quick, and I'm gonna be done. Right. I've been waiting on this. I got anyway.
While we wait on there you go. He back. E-Rob.
You got me?
There you go. Yeah.
Carson Beck was 16 for 20 in the second half. 16 for 20 in the second half, 240 yards and a touchdown, a game-winning drive. Listen, man, we only have 5 possessions in the second half. Really only 4 because the first possession was a pass and then fumble. So I'm just talking about the other 4. 3 of them resulted in 2 touchdowns and a field goal. The other one, we got across the 50, punted it, and got them inside the 10. So offensively, we're moving the ball, we're scoring. So, the defense, when we get them pinned down, then we can't let them out. This is an offense that is incompetent. They are incompetent, and we just let them look like they were a competent offense. They haven't looked confident
Okay.
against anyone except for us.
This is the good E-Rob.
Right.
No, that. Oh, my bad. Okay.
This the
All right, I'm
good
done.
E-Rob. Before I let John
I'm
get in
done.
here, I will tip a nod to the offensive line. There were no procedural penalties in a hostile environment on the road in Auburn. That's sometimes that's
good.
kind of like unheard of, you know what I'm saying? So and to the defense, Smile Monday was SEC Defensive Player of the Week. So shout out to Smile Monday, man. John, I'm gonna let you get in here, man. Talk about some good that you seen on Saturday.
Yeah, the good is getting Lad McConkey back. You saw him show up in those third downs that you really needed it. First half, second half, didn't matter.
Yes.
And then we've got the best player in the nation right now, and
Yes.
that's Brock Bowers. His flexibility, his ability to play a wide receiver, a slot receiver, an inline tight end, do some dirty work. He's not just a receiving tight end. I mean, the dude is a beast. So that is really good. I also think that, you know, Dejon Edwards, who has always been that factor, you know, we're still looking for that lightning to his thunder, but his balance and his vision is second to none. We just need another guy with him. I think Dylan Bell, the way we've deployed him this entire season, has been a breath of fresh air because Milton hadn't been healthy. Obviously, the rest of the backs aren't there. And to have a guy that comes in and brings a little spark, I mean, you see that he's got some speed now. You know, he hits that edge and he can leave those linebackers and get to that second level. So it's something that we need. We have to be able to threaten some teams on a bounce play or an outside zone.
Yeah.
And Dejon Edwards has that balance. He has vision, but he doesn't have that gear that a guy like Dylan Bell brings to the table. So it's good to see the fact that we've got some options that, you know, Dylan Bell is not going to be a 20 carry a game guy, but the fact that you can put him back there and he can bring a little lightning to the offense, I think that creates a little more balance so that, you know, it keeps teams from saying, hey, let's just, you know, make sure we're not picked apart by Brock Bowers, depending on where he lines up.
Well, it's crazy is speaking of Brock Bowers, an Auburn fan tried to come at the DC for Auburn and say, well, maybe we should try bracketing Brock Bowers. And the DC actually responded and said, I don't know what game you was watching. We was bracketed.
They were. I saw a couple of times they did.
And here's what's crazy. I mean,
the back shoulder throws a bracket.
Yep.
Tell me the defense that has that flexibility to bracket, you know, depending on where he lines up. He could be at X, he can be at Z, he can be at Y, he can be in line, he can go in motion. He lines up at fullback sometimes, or running back next to as a single. How do you design a defense that says, I don't know where the guy's going to line up, but we'll have double coverage on him no matter where he lines up? That doesn't exist.
Yep. Big facts, man. Big facts, man. We're here talking about the Auburn good right now. We'll get into the bag here, talking with Super Bowl champion, former All-American Jon Stinchcomb, man. We're going to put him up at the top, and we're going to let Shawty and Cool Cal talk about the bad. All right, you guys, I don't know which one of y'all want to go first, but have at it.
I'll go to the former dog.
Okay.
Well, you know, for me, the bad, you know, there's the thing about the bad for me is Carson he's playing well. He's playing good. But the thing that is bad is the plays that he's missing. These are those explosive plays that's missing from our offense. When he gets shots at explosive plays, like where he missed depth going down the seam, you have to make those throws. You have to make those throws. And also having to play from behind. I don't want to be accustomed to having to play from behind. That's also where a lot of those yards come from because we need them. You know what I'm saying? We playing from behind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I really don't like to see. That's really the major bad for me. And of course, I'm always hard on the offensive line. I wasn't impressed with the push on either side. And I keep going back to things that I've said earlier in the year. The P's are not adding up. The potential in the play is not adding up. They're playing well, but they're not playing like they're supposed to be playing with the way the stars match up. Yeah. And that's the problem that we have. And a lot of it has to do also with us going into some of our depth, or we do have some injuries. So it does give us a chance to start developing some of those players. But that's the main bad for me. And outside of those linebackers, whew, I don't know if we were just maybe unprepared for that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were just having some brain farts. I don't know. It's still equal up to being unprepared. But that's something we can clean up. But that just looked real bad on film.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. What you got on the Cal?
Echo a lot of the points that you made. As far as the offensive line, and I'm gonna reach a little bit deeper into the offensive line as far as the pass protection has been pretty good. It's actually been excellent for the most part. I see a lot of clean pockets and time to throw. But when I look at, man, we're a Georgia team, man. We had 107 yards rushing total for the game. That's telling me what I'm seeing is we're not getting that initial push up front. I feel like every running back that we put in the game, they fight hard for all the yards that they're getting. I'm not seeing a nice little hole. They can get to the second level, maybe make some guys miss, maybe run some guys over, stiff arm some guys. I'm seeing everything they're getting hit. It seems like 3 yards and in. And so I think we really got to figure out, what type of physicality we're going to have. Are we going to be able to have this moving forward? Because once we start to get deeper into the SEC play, man, we're going to start to see better trenches. We've already, talked about a couple times. Yeah, exactly. Getting beat up on the line by South Carolina and number 50 from Auburn last week. So once we start to get, on into the conference a little bit more, how are we going to be able to hold up? Because we're going to have that rushing game. We can't go out there and expect Brock Bowers to go make backwards hand catches and do the things that he does every game to save us. So we're going to have to be a little bit more solid up front. And I'm going to just stick with the offensive line as far as the bad. Let's get better there. Let's get that running game back. Let's get up around 200 yards a game rushing again where we need to be. And I think we'll be fine in that area.
Okay. All right. And John, maybe you can speak to some ways we can improve and also call out some bad that you haven't spoke on.
Yeah, I'm going to call out the bad that our defense, which has been, that's been our backbone for years now. As soon as Kirby Smart came in, it's been our defense plays at a really high level, and it's bailed our offense out at times. We turn the ball over, and we haven't seen that this year, right? The teams end up getting points on the board. So you looking for a big difference? There it is. What scares me, you look at that Auburn game plan. Georgia knew coming into this game, RPO, really it's run option, whether I hand it off or it's a QB. We didn't have an answer for it. And that means they practiced all week long on it and still let us get gashed. So setting the edge for outside linebackers, if we're going to play a 3-4, you got to be able to set the edge. We got to be able to play gap responsible football. And I know I'm supposed to talk offensive line here, but if we're evaluating this team, say the biggest cautionary sign that I see is you can beat those RPOs, those RRO plays in 2 ways. One, you can just dominate, whip the man in front of you. We don't have those guys up front right now, not in the run game. Nazir Stackhouse, Tramel Wildthower, they're supposed to be those run stuffers. They're not getting off the blocks like we've seen in the past to kind of just cover up some of those bad fits that might happen. The second thing is our linebackers haven't fit real well. Our nickel player, our safety that's down in the box, you got to be able to fit. If they're going that run option, somebody's got the quarterback, somebody's got the running back. We didn't see that. And so they're getting those bigger chunk plays that are extending those drives and turning those mistakes that we see on the offense that used to be like, oh, crap, well, 3 and out, we get the ball back. Now those other teams are rolling down the field and coming away with points.
Yes.
Definitely true.
And when they get in the red zone, they're scoring this year. We're not bowing up. They're scoring points. So we got to do better.
And that's a good good point, E Rob, and that's gonna segue me into my guy CA, man. He's tasked since JV couldn't make it with us today, he's tasked by himself to do the ugly. I'm gonna say a stat that E Rob just talked about, the red zone defense. We are 2021, we were number one. We were number one in red zone defense of giving up TDs. 2022, we were tied for second. Coming into Saturday's game, red zone defense giving up TDs. We were 114 out of 131 teams.
Ooh, don't say that to me, coach.
So basically, once you get in the red zone, we giving it up like day walkers in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you gonna score.
It's all good. It's all good, E-Rob. It's all good. We still 5-0.
No, that's that right there. That gotta stop.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So now I'm gonna just give away to my guy CA. I know he got some more for us, man. Give us the ugly CA. We need it.
I mean, a lot of the truth has already been spoken, whether it be in code or not. You guys have mentioned the majority of the things that I think we have problems with. Number one, just not being dominant at the point of attack on either side of the ball, whether you look at offense or defense. That's been a big concern of mine, and it leads to what we speak about when we talk about the run game and stopping the run. I was really surprised with what Auburn was able to do to us in their run attack, because it wasn't a secret. We knew they did not have a plan to throw the ball effectively, and they still ran it down our throat, primarily between the tackles. So that was just disappointing to see that we still don't have the edge in that aspect. We can't count on and lean on dominance just because we have great players. That was one of the things I really noticed. Point of attack on both sides really sucked, in my personal opinion. And one of the things I also really noticed, I kind of want to get to the root of it real quick, but the goalpost has changed. You brought that up, E-Rob. It has. Thad speaks about trying to get teams to a certain level, to a certain platform, coaches moving you up the ladder. How we feel about where Kirby has brought us. Yeah, goalpost move, buddy, a couple years back. So what we look at now is we judge this against championship caliber ball. We've all developed an eye for it, and we're going to speak to that. And when we don't see it, we got to be critical. That's what we're here for, to be petty, because we want to make sure these guys are championship ready. So you got to sharpen the iron, and right now we're not necessarily seeing that. One of the things I definitely noticed, I think Stinch mentioned the lack of depth at the running back position. RBU, we got a lot of pride in, putting guys in positions to be successful. With this running game being not being strong at the point, these running backs really don't have a chance to be successful. And even when they do, Dejon seems to be the only one able to take advantage of the opportunity. That lack of depth can come back to haunt us. And right now, relying on, a wide receiver who's giving us excellent options at that position. When you look at Dylan Bell, it doesn't bode well in the long run unless he can't maintain that health. And that's been one thing that we've already discussed has been a big issue. One of the things that was great about what happened on Saturday, I think, is really a detriment in my personal opinion. I think this is the highlight of my argument. Brock Bowers is obviously one of the better players we'll ever see put on a pair of cleats, helmet, and shoulder pads. But our usage rate of him, in my opinion, is way too high already. How many plays do you have to get him the ball? Because all we're doing is loading up the scouting report. I'm anxious to see some guys learn to play off of him, especially at the wide receiver position. But when Carson Beck is throwing the ball, he's only confident throwing it to Ladd and Brock. He steps into those throws. Hey, I don't advise you to throw into bracket coverage. But when you got Brock Bowers, he'll make up for some of those mistakes. I don't give him a lot of those yards that we have statistically shown up, because he's forcing the ball to the number one guy in the nation. Yeah, it's smart to do, but that don't mean you're making a hell of a read. That means you don't obviously have the confidence in your guys outside, for whatever the reason might be. I'm not here to dictate what's going on. I'm just looking at the fact that at some point someone's going to bracket him properly. That's all I'm saying. Jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me jump in and ask Corey and ask Dad. The one interception on Saturday was a ball to Marcus, and he gets run through for that interception, right? As a quarterback, I want to be able to trust my wide receivers to make that throw, and you make me right in that situation. Am I wrong there?
Before y'all answer, I want to say that I think I'm always for Team Beck, and I could be wrong. Shawty, y'all let me know. Shouldn't he have put that ball on his outside shoulder, though?
Bad ball, John.
Well, the whole point of it, the receiver shouldn't have drifted.
I got you. That's what I was asking. I looked at it like Carson should have put it on his outside shoulder. That way, the defender couldn't take it. But you're right.
It don't make no difference if he drilled, because he's gonna be able to undercut him anyway. He basically opened the gate for him.
I got you.
Next question. Dominic Lovett. Last year when we saw him play against us, that dude was everywhere. Am I wrong? The guy made a billion plays.
You're right.
So, and we've seen him flash occasionally, as like a possession receiver for Georgia. I'm no wide receiver expert, but wouldn't that be one of the first guys we look to say, if it's not Brock and it's not Ladd, we've seen Arian a couple times get deep and he dropped it. Especially that big one was it against UAB, wide open down the field. Beck hits him, and that was one of those opportunities that for us to hit those electrics, that explosive plays where we're critiquing. Carson, he hadn't hit him. He didn't hit him on that flea flicker a couple weeks ago. He didn't hit Delp this week. We can help ourselves if our wide receivers like Arian come away with that catch. So it's not always just on that quarterback. We also need some of those wide receivers to kind of earn that same trust that he's got with Brock and Ladd. Am I wrong?
True. I agree with that take, but at the same time, it's only one quarterback. It's a bunch of receivers. It's always going to be a heavier burden on his shoulders. That I feel like Mike tried to get what's our transfer guy? His name just slipped my head.
Ra-Ra?
Love it.
No, not Ra-Ra.
Love it.
Not Ra-Ra. He tried to get Lovett the ball earlier in the season. He did have a lot of plays where they were highlighting Lovett earlier in the season, and he had those crucial drops. And that opened the door to wonder, hey, who's going to be the guy that steps up? Ra-Ra really didn't take his foothold until maybe week 2 or week 3. So you're right. Those receivers hadn't necessarily made those plays. But again, consistency does go across the board. And when I'm looking at the wide receiver position, I do see opportunities for them to be a lot better than they have been. But, you still got to step into these throws. I want confidence from the quarterback position because I personally feel like when I'm in the huddle, that's where the engine is going to come from. That's going to be why cut somebody out? My problem is if you got a problem, what's going on in the field, show me some emotion, take charge of that huddle, and demand excellence. That's what I would love to see. It's not really necessarily about him always being perfect, but I want him to take ownership of the position, and that entails more than always making the throws. Whether he's right or wrong, I'd love to see him just take charge of the offense, take ownership of it, have command of the huddle, and I don't necessarily see that yet, from my perspective. I could be a little skewed. I'm judging him heavily. I'm judging him against what I saw last year in the last couple of seasons and the guy who wasn't afraid of the moment. So that's really what I don't want you to be afraid of the moment. I don't like timid from that position. I'd rather pull you back than light a fire under you. Yeah, he's consistent and maybe you can't shake him. But at the same time, I just want to see it more in that leadership aspect as well.
Definitely. Cool, Cal.
Points.
I haven't heard from you in a minute, man. You agree with these points that CAA is making a lot of good
I know that. I know everybody don't agree. I'm gonna sit back and listen for a minute.
Nah, you on point tonight. You on point tonight. I don't know about the other nights, but tonight you on point. you flowing tonight. No, I mean, like you said, man, our expectations are super, super, super high. We won 2 national championships in a row, a gazillion games in a row. So what we're seeing it's more to me about the eye test and what we're seeing. A couple of years ago, we saw one of the best defenses that we've ever seen in college football. I mean, just dominating on all levels. That was an incredible defense. Last year, we were great both sides of the ball. Championship level again, we went undefeated. This year, we're still undefeated, but I think that we're just not seeing that same type of dominance. When we look at the defensive line, we got good guys. We don't see Jalen Carter. We just don't see the Jordan Davises. We don't see those kinds of guys.
It's that same cake, just different ingredients. That's what I be talking about. It's the same cake, though.
Yeah, it's the same cake, and sometimes, you get the watered down ingredients a little bit. The cake's still good. It still, melts in your mouth, but it may not still have that initial pop that you had before. And so that's what I think is kind of the missing thing. It's more of the eye test. The season's going to unfold. Each season is a new season in itself, and the team's going to develop into what it's going to be. And we're still kind of waiting to see where we're going to go. But just judging on what we've seen in the past, we just don't see that same type of product. It's still great. It's still amazing. It's still one of the best out. But is it elite at the top? That's what we're trying to figure out right now. And so I think that I totally agree with what CA is saying. As far as like with Beck, it's just kind of those things that we felt a little bit more with Stetson last year. We actually got to a point where we were so comfortable with Stetson from where we had been, and we just don't quite feel that way with Carson. But he's got time to get us there. We still 5-0, and he can get us there. We just want to see it.
Way to wrap that up, Cool Cal. You're right. We started 2021 out where we were, all us except for CA was giving Stetson, pretty much that same, hell we giving Carson.
I wasn't on that now. I was with CA.
Well, CA was more like really down for Stetson, like, what I'm saying, take you outside the bar and fight you.
E-Rob always flip-flopping, man. He don't be doing that. E-Rob
hold on now. Y'all gonna say the same thing about Beck next year. You wasn't with him. You wait.
But you're right, Cal. We got comfortable to the point where we figured we didn't worry about Stetson. You know what I'm saying? Even if he, threw a bad pass, we just didn't. We were comfortable that he was going to come back and lead us to a score. So all good points, fellas. All good points. Hey, whether we win by 7 or win by 50, we're going to bring you the good, bad, and the ugly. Glad we got the win. We are 5-0. The team we're taking on next week is also 5-0. There's only 3 teams undefeated in the SEC. It's us, Kentucky, and Missouri, fellas. That's right. All of them in the East.
Missouri. Wow.
So this is a huge game coming up this weekend for the SEC East race and the race to try to get to the conference championship. This can make us 3-0. With a game up on the other team, and then we'll be taking on Missouri down the line, man. So I want to get into that a little bit. So, John, just give us what you want to see this weekend and what maybe worries you about the Big Blue Nation.
Yeah, well, Kentucky's coming off that big win. They're 3rd in a row against Florida, and they put it on them in the run game. I mean, Davis is a guy that can tote the mail. So the onus is going to be on our rush defense. Now, they don't have – who is that? Carlo, who's, he's talking about a guy who's engaged in this little chat room. I mean, he is on it.
Shout out to our guy, Carlo.
Guy's in it.
That's a form of dog, John.
Is it? All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
What's up, dog fan?
Baby.
So, I mean, again, they don't have that running quarterback, but we got to prove that Davis can't just dominate a game like he did against Florida. I mean, Florida, by the end of that, they knew what Kentucky was trying to do. They couldn't do anything about it. So it's a different makeup offensively than what we saw against Auburn with 2 rushing quarterbacks. But Davis and their offensive front, they've got no problems trying to lean on a defense and figuring out, are you wanting to play bloody knuckles in the middle of this thing? And Kirby said it as this week began that, in the past, Kentucky is that week where it's going to be physical football. And guys are going to be sore on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday recovering from it. All right, well, this is where we pride ourselves as Georgia football and Kirby Smart running these tough practices is we can match physicality with anybody. This is going to be one of those weeks where we're going to have to prove it.
That's right, man. I definitely agree with that. E-Rob, man, listen, Carlo and John touched on, man, they don't have a running quarterback. So it's about stopping their running game. If we can stop their run game, that guy can throw it. I'm not going to say like Devin Leary did it at NC State, so I think they can throw it, man. Boy, what are you looking for the Dogs to do this Saturday, man, to keep us undefeated?
I mean, Carlo and John made a great point. Like, that's the X factor, that running quarterback, that you have an extra blocker, a lot of misdirection, and that is what can hurt us. So not having that, I feel a lot more comfortable. But just the way this defense has played the whole year, I'm just, when we talk about the eye test, for me, it's shocking how mediocre the defense is playing so far this year. So they're going to have to figure out a way to scheme this up, figure out a way to work with, like you say, Thad, the ingredients that we got in this particular cake. How are we going to make this particular cake work? Because right now, defensively, if I'm Kentucky, I'm feeling like there are a lot of opportunities for us to make big plays in this game. I'm feeling very good about coming to Athens and imposing my will. So, we'll see. I'll be in the building on Saturday, so we'll see.
Hey, I think JV's going too. It's a night game at home. The fans have been clamoring for a night game. To the fans that's going to the game, man, I saw somebody on Twitter say he's been to all the games, and the fans haven't started fast either. So, hey, just a note, maybe let's
Yeah,
let's make them Sunday night game. You have time to get all leathered up. And bring the noise from the opening kickoff, man. Make Kentucky regret that they came into in between the hedges, man. The linebacker play, I will say that CJ Allen played a lot more on Saturday than I want to say he might have had more snaps than Pop did. I don't know if that was a injury or whatever. I mean, Pop played, but Pop said in the interview, and we talked about it last week, that he, there haven't been a lot of in the box plays. All I'm saying is Kentucky gonna give you all you want in the box. You want. This Saturday.
Coach, you led right into what I wanted to say. That's the guy that I'm looking at this weekend. I'm looking at him every single play.
Nice.
There's a couple of things that we look at Kentucky's quarterback Leary. I know he had a pretty good career at NC State, but last week the guy was 9 for 20 for 69 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy, he's got 5 picks on the season already, so he will give us some opportunities, and we have great DBs in the secondary to obviously pick the ball off. I think obviously we can get in there, we can shut the run game down, get in the box, shut it down. I don't see Kentucky having a lot of opportunity. If they're able to get up there and whip us up front and run the ball down our throat, and Davis has another 200-yard game, we've got a lot of problems. But I think that we focus in on this running game, shut that down. I don't see a whole lot of issues going against the quarterback.
I got you.
I think that's their problem. I mean, I think that's their problem. It's kind of like, styles make fight, matchups make fight.
I think about Kentucky,
and think about Kentucky, they're gonna try to out Georgia.
Yep.
And see that kind of ties into us not having to overthink. Just play physical ball.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's going to play into our hand. As good as Kentucky is, they're a good team. But I just think it's going to be a bad matchup because they're going to try to play our style of football. 2 tight ends, try to run right at us. And we practice against that all day, every day. That's what we want.
Yeah.
So, and I just think when you look at the roster,
Facts.
our roster would then probably be able to shine a little bit.
Yep. Facts.
I like that.
Great
that.
take
like
right there, Thad. For
yeah,
sure.
them styles and the Kentucky style is the style we could use to try to get back to that physical, dominant defense that we've been used to. CA, man, anything else that these fellas haven't touched on, man, that you might want to see on Saturday, or that you I don't know, looking at Kentucky for?
First and foremost, as long as we win, it's gonna actually be all right. But I don't have that same level of confidence in that physicality. I hadn't seen it. Why we didn't do that against Auburn? I mean, they lined up and put, between the tackles and they ran it down our throat. It wasn't like it was
They quarterback make you play limb on limb. That's the only difference.
Right, and they ran to the edges a lot. We ain't said the edge good against Auburn.
Well, I'm anxious to see what we do against Kentucky, because Kentucky gonna set something where they just have to perform. And, the rubber gonna meet the road. Once again, this is one of those opportunities for us to really step up. I'm looking for some of these defensive linemen to separate themselves, hopefully. Right now we got a lot of guys in the secondary chasing for tackles. And, it shouldn't be that way. I've already complained about the linebacker play. I'm glad we had a guy, defensive player of the week. But that core, I'm really looking for a lot more out of, because these run fixes just look bad. I don't know what the count is. 8, 9, 50. Tackle them up. What we doing? I'm saying, just wrap up. If we tackle, I think that's my biggest complaint. We are missing tackles. It's not like it's a trick. It's not like we're really, horribly out of position. But just what happened to sticking to a guy and tackling. We used to be great at open field tackling, and I don't see that, especially really from anybody. So I want us to be the more physical team. This is a perfect matchup. Because if we find out we're the finesse team in this matchup, what we gonna do on Saturday? We better figure it out quick. Kentucky gonna run the ball.
Big facts. Sean D, shout out to Sean D getting in. He say, I'm late to the show, fellas. Sorry if we already covered. We haven't, Sean. He says he wants to know what kind of problems the Kentucky defense can present to our run game. John, I'll let you say this. He said they're only giving up 73 rush yards per game.
Well, we're going to have to play better up front.
Right.
And not only offensive line, but we don't have Darnell Washington out there. That's pretty apparent. Oscar Delp, Brock is – I mean, he's a good blocking. Nobody's like Darnell. So we're still adjusting to that. Yeah. Same thing with, we run a lot of bunch formation at the edge of our line of scrimmage. You got to get dirty in those. You got to get in there and scrap a little bit. We don't see a lot of
wide receivers. Somebody.
Yeah, I mean, offensive line, they don't get a pass here. They have to play better, but they're not alone. Our tight ends on inline blocking, and then our wide receivers. You want to know how you get explosive runs? It's not just the offensive line; it's good edge blocking. I mean, you got to have a wide receiver in there, cleans up a linebacker, comes in and peels a safety. Just cover them up at times, and that's when you get those bigger runs. We haven't seen that because our offensive line isn't getting hat on a hat. There's a lot of missed assignments up front. We're coming off of guys when they move, and then B, when we do get hat on a hat, we're only getting what the defense is giving us because we don't have those secondary players, those edge blocking tight ends that are creating those creases for those 4 and 5 yard gains to be 25 and safety chasers. So it's got to be a full group effort to face anybody. In Kentucky, that's the way they're being built right now is, they're explosives and come on offense through the run game. What do they do on defense? It's like, we're going to start by playing physical. We're going to try to take away your run and make you do other things. So what can we do here? We can't just go straight pass all the time. I think we could, but I don't think that's in our best interest. So you're going to have to, put your big boy pads on and go out there and play physical.
Definitely agree with all those points. Cal, you got anything to add to that?
No, I think we summed it up. Man. This going to be a game about the trenches and see where our physicality is, both sides of the ball. So I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely, man. We open up as a 14.5-point favorite. I think 15 in some books. You know what I'm saying? I was like, God, bro, not only are we everybody's Super Bowl, but the Vegas gonna give them bulletin board material too. Oh, like 14.5. Like, was you not watching last weekend?
What are they saying?
I think at the beginning of the year opened up almost at 21 though.
It did.
Oh, really? Past expectations.
Yeah. So, but I think overall, I like Thad said it earlier, man. I like the style that we're playing against. If we was playing another RPO this weekend, I don't know. I don't know if I think we need another week or 2 or 3 to get ready for. Luckily, Tennessee's only on down the line with that RPO and things of that nature, man. So overall, I think we're pretty good, man. But like I said earlier, man, this game is for the SEC. This is SEC race, East race time, man. You know what I'm saying? Both teams. I want to say Kentucky beat Florida. And I want to say they beat somebody, Vanderbilt. They beat Vanderbilt also. So they 2-0 in the SEC. We 2-0 the SEC. So this game definitely means a lot. SEC race though, like what are you guys' thoughts on the East? And then we'll talk about the West, which looks like the Wild Wild West wide open. John, what do you think about the East so far?
Overperformed, right? I think the critique of the SEC has come because we expected Alabama and LSU to be those 2 other top teams, those juggernauts in the SEC, and we haven't seen it. What's been overlooked is the SEC East has outperformed any of the projections, Kentucky included. You said there's 3 undefeated SEC teams. They're all on our side of the conference. They're in our division. So kudos to Kentucky and Missouri. As a matter of fact, for all those national speaking heads that say Georgia has a soft schedule, you look at the remaining games and the number of top 25 teams that Georgia will face versus every other team that's in that top 20, who's going to face 2, maybe 3 at most. And we've got at least 4 remaining on our schedule. So it's no cakewalk. And it's a testament to the fact that the SEC is still strong. It's just the expected teams of Alabama and LSU have vastly underperformed. And, the SEC is still playing really good football. I just don't think you see that separation from the top that we've grown used to from Georgia and Alabama and LSU like we've seen in the past 4 or 5 years.
I definitely agree with all that. Shawty, what's your thoughts on the SEC, West and East, man?
They both wide open, you know. And to the point that John was making, I think the reason why, you know, we see so much more parity in the league is because all of these major teams, other than maybe LSU, had changes at the trigger man spot, at the quarterback spot. And anytime you change in that position after having somebody that's been there stable for years, I mean, you're gonna see a difference. You're gonna see a difference. So it's just a lot more parity. I think both sides are still wide open. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who's gonna come out of either side. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't give you that answer until this weekend for us. I can't say until we win if we gonna come out. And then on the West, I don't know. Ole Miss, Texas A&M. I mean, who? Alabama.
You're right.
You know?
Texas A&M, Alabama play this weekend, so a lot's gonna be settled in that one as well.
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be honest with you too. Just because of the quarterback play and lack thereof it, that's why I'm gonna be. I just don't think the conference is that great as a whole anyway because of that. Because of the quarterback play.
Pat, who in this country looks better though? I mean, I understand. You know, there are some teams out west, Washington, Oregon, Utah, USC. They're going to feast on each other like the SEC has done for years, right? So only one, maybe two at most, will emerge from that fray. But that's something we've grown used to. The reason why they look better, in my opinion, is because, you know, don't have that dominant team. But when it's all said and done, neither will they.
But they have better quarterback play. That's why it looks so much better.
Yeah,
those exact teams you just mentioned all got
it's the style. It's a better looking product on TV. When we see guys out there that throwing for 450, and we're like, oh wow. But then we also see those are the same teams too, maybe except Oregon, they give up 30, 35 points a game as well. So you know, for some of the things that we may lack in our conference, you know, the other conference may have, but they don't have the same trenches. They don't have maybe the same coaching, you know. So I just think that overall across the nation, there's a lot more parity. Even when you look at Ohio State, they've got a new quarterback there. Still a really good, talented team, but they have a new quarterback as well. So they're still trying to adjust. I know I've been hearing Michigan, you know, maybe the best team in the country this year, but I just think that, you know, there's just a lot more parity across the country. But at the end of the day, I still think that it runs through the SEC.
And we'll let CA and E-Rob get in here, man, and then we'll talk about one of those big games coming up this weekend nationally. E-Rob, East and West, man, SEC, man, what's your thoughts?
I pretty much echo what Thad said. I think it's wide open. Definitely on the East. It is not a foregone conclusion that we're just going to win the East. I can't just say that until this weekend it has concluded, because I am just not confident that we're just going to 100% roll over Kentucky. So we'll have to see. In terms of the West, there, you know, it's the wild west, man. It's a lot of stuff going on over there, man. It's, you know,
they giving up 1,000 yards. They giving up 1,000 yards a half.
I mean, you just don't know. It might be one of those games, or it might be 9-7. You just don't know what kind of game you're gonna get over there on that side. So, you know, it's all over the place. I'm here for it. I'll say that. I'm here for all of it. So I'll be locked in. But you know, like John said, there isn't that team that's just head and shoulders better than everyone else this year. Not as of week 5 or week 6. We'll see how this thing progresses, but as it stands right now, that it's not there.
There it is. CA, we'll let you button this up with your thoughts on the East and the West.
Man, I don't know what's going on. You know, I need to figure out what Georgia's going to do in the East. Everybody else, you know, Kentucky's going to be a deciding factor. In the West, it's wide open. I'm listening to this parity conversation, man, and I'm thinking about, man, my defense. I could really use a lot of those guys that left me. You know, this portal has really opened up a lot of this parity opportunity, because it's harder to retain and maintain some of that depth. You know, a guy feels like he should be playing, he gone. And I could use some of these linebackers that left me. I could use a couple of guys that have taken opportunities elsewhere and add to my depth. I think that's a big testament to, you know, a lot of this talent being spread across landscape here in college football. As far as the SEC is concerned, yeah, in the East, I feel like it's definitely a two-team race right now with Florida, pissing down their leg last week and just, opening that door for Kentucky. South Carolina's
I
got a
love
good
that
quarterback.
visual.
They can upset some people. Yeah, it's going down. South Carolina got a good quarterback to play, but their inconsistency is going to
Yeah.
kill them. In the West, Alabama still has to be beat. Like, you got to beat them on the field. We know that they're talented and have some deficiencies. You got to go out and handle some business against them, though, and they haven't lost in the league yet. That's still going to take, a real effort to go out and handle that. The team that does it will have, we'll be able to build on it. So I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen in the West. I do not think it's going to be Alabama. I feel Georgia has a strong chance in the East as long as we, are who we think we are on Saturday. I think that's going to be a big indicator on where the season will go for the Dogs.
I definitely agree with that and the other sentiments of the panel. I think this Saturday, I'm not saying the East will be decided, but I think we'll have a huge upper hand if we can come out on top. In the West, you're right. You do have to beat Alabama, man. It's looking like Nick Saban has realized, man, he got to run a lot of this RPO as well. He can't be tossing it around like he has been these past couple years. They actually do have a pretty good defense. They shut Ole Miss pretty much. I know Ole Miss threw for about 1 billion yards this past Saturday against LSU, but Alabama wasn't having that when they rolled up in Tuscaloosa. So, but Texas A&M outside of that Miami game looked like they might have figured some stuff out, and they always, at least these last 2 years have either beaten Alabama or given them a good run. So we'll see what they got for them on Saturday because it is in College Station. So with that said, man, y'all talked about the portal and some I'm like CA, some of these guys, hey man, I get it. You got to go do what's best for you, but it would be nice to still have you in the red and black. But with that said, man, one of the bigger games this weekend before we get out of here, man, is the Red River Shootout, man. Texas and Oklahoma, man. Just quick, man, I'll get y'all thoughts on that because it could lead to something nationally for one of those teams because both of those teams are undefeated. John, I know you'll probably check it out before our game comes on.
Yeah, well, I think it's all eyes on Texas, right? I think if Texas has a good performance against Oklahoma, then they probably should have that claim to that number one ranking. Rankings for whatever they matter. But at this point in the season, they go out there and perform against a good Oklahoma team, a middle of the top 25 ranked Oklahoma team. Then to me, Texas is going. You got to explain to me based on this year's performance why we aren't the number one team. Now they still have to go out there and perform that way against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's no slouch. So it's they will earn it. But I think there's still a lot more questions left for Georgia, and especially looking at the remaining who we've got left and who Texas has left. They put in a lot of work up to this point, and certainly will on Saturday. And we still have a lot of proving left to do, as this panel has just expressed. We'll find out a lot about Georgia on Saturday. Well, I think Texas can stake their claim as in we're a legit contender for this national championship come the end of the year based on the performance we have. And we're just going to make sure that we finish the season well. But you've seen what we're capable of against really talented teams.
That's true. Shawty, man, what you got on that Red River Shootout, man? I think it might mean a little bit more for Texas because, not for nothing, Oklahoma does have a second-year head coach.
All right, I'm gonna answer this very, very quick because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really care about that game, but I'm gonna answer it very, very quick. Can I ask John a quick question after that? Because it's gonna be real quick. All right. Yeah. So with that being said, I really think, to be honest, it's big for both programs because they both want to claim to be elite.
I got you.
And this just gonna finally show who's at least in the conversation. Until they always say gonna start. Well, Oklahoma going Oklahoma because they ain't did nothing yet. So whoever win, power to you, thank to you. Hope we'll see you later on, whatever it may be. So I don't really care about that game, but it's a good game. All right, John, this is my question for you. Being an offensive lineman, if you happen to see or pick up on the inclination that the play calling is leaning a lot more towards, say, extension plays of the run game, screens and little hitches and things like that. How does that make you feel as a lineman? Do you feel some kind of way as a lineman that that's where the run game has kind of went to because we're not running between the tackles?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel a certain kind of way that I need to
Good question.
earn more opportunity, because what we did against UAB was minimize the impact that an offensive lineman can have on the game. And I think we did it intentionally. I think we did it because we hadn't performed all that well. And so it's like, hey, we can hit these outside runs by just throwing 2 and 3 wide receiver screens, which has become, and you'll hear every coach say it, this is an extension of the run game. Well, really what we're saying is we're going to minimize our offensive line and let our wide receivers block for one another and get them in space because we haven't been able to create. So as an offensive lineman, I take that personally. I say, all right, well, I want you to be able to run off the edge and up the middle because of my performance, and not try to scheme a defense to compensate for the fact that we haven't earned that right from the coaching staff to say, we're just going to run what we run in our system and you can't stop it. Instead, we're going to, scheme and motion. Those are all great things. They're complementary to your meat and potatoes. But if it's not meat and potatoes of, pin and pull and power and inside outside zone because we trust our offensive line, that's an indictment on this group. And I would absolutely take that personally.
Right. Hey, right from the horse's mouth, man. Former All-American Super Bowl champion, man, Jon Stinchcomb, man. Y'all go ahead and get those predictions in the chat, man, for the UGA Kentucky game, man. So we'll start with E-Rob and Cool Cal, man. What's y'all score predictions for this UGA Kentucky game, man? Cool Cal.
I'm going to go 30-24. Obviously, Dogs.
Dogs, 30-24 Dogs. E-Rob, what you got on it, man?
Okay, so real quick, I would be remiss if I didn't say this, John. You are welcome back. I think you got a week here, so this is your week. So next year, this is your week. Block it out. You wouldn't fellas this week, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and put that on the schedule right now. Boy, I ain't gonna lie, boy, I'm nervous about this game here, man. So I'm gonna say it seems like 24. I'm gonna say 27-17.
27-17. Shout out to that score. Sean D gets in with the same score, 27-17.
I like you, Sean D.
That's right. All right. Shouty, what you got on the score for this weekend?
I was gonna say 28-20.
28-20. Oh, kind of like God Damon Ward says 28-17. 28-17. CA, what's your score for this weekend, my man?
CA, you with us?
You tabulating up, so you tabulating up the score.
Doing the math.
Yeah, I was in the lab. My bad, fellas. I'm sorry about that delay, man. I feel like the Dogs are gonna really look at a total team effort. We mentioned there's a lot of deficiencies. There's a lot of opportunities to step up. I see defense and special team taking advantage, getting in the end zone. I'm going against the grain, man. 35-21 Dogs.
There it is, man. I think I'm gonna go with Carlo, man. Carlo say 24-10. I think I'm gonna stick with something like that, 24-10. That's normally what these Kentucky games play out to be, kind of like slow grinding type deal.
Damn, we don't cover then.
Nah, that half though, that hook be getting them. John, what you got on the score for this weekend?
I say it's going to be 31-17, Dogs on top.
31-17, Dogs on top. I got Mike Free checking in from Hawaii. What's going on, Mike Free? He said 21-28, Dogs on top. Heena, what's going on, Heena? Heena says 42-21, Dogs on top. Might be wishful thinking, but I'm hoping after the scale.
There won't be a lot of possessions either in this game.
No, because of that first down.
That's a good point.
First down rules. Shelby, what's going on, Shelby? She said 21-7. I like that, Shelby. That means the defense showed up for sure if we held them to 7 points. Let's see what we got here. Stat guy checking in, say Kentucky with the upset of the week, 31-27. Okay.
How you hang?
Yeah.
That guy always trying to stall us.
We keep receipts. We keep receipts.
Yeah, we got to see him next week. Wait a minute. Did they just lose? What did they do last week? He ain't supposed to be quiet, eh?
Hey, Veronica Dillon getting in, say 17-13 Dogs in the slow one. Like Thad said, man, Maurice is backing that up. 17-13 Dogs. Seems like we all know this is going to be one of those old school, you know what I'm saying, type games where Slobber in the trenches, man. That's right, man. We want to thank John, man. We want to thank you for coming out tonight, man. Like E-Rob said, this is your week, but you are welcome to come in anytime you want to. But this definitely is the Stinchcomb week every year, man. So we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, man. So anybody got anything else before we get up out of here?
Awesome. Great show, fellas, man. Glad to have you again, John.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks
for having me on.
What's up?
I'm going to be in the building on Saturday. Listen, any dog fans that can hear me, we need to be loud. We need to affect this game on Saturday because we damn sure need you. We need all the help we can get.
That's right. And Heena, if you're still watching, E-Rob did put in his order for the half fry a couple of weeks ago. So we need the half fry at the tailgates.
Yes.
Hey man, shout out to everybody, man. JV, our guy missing tonight, man. Shout out to Jon Stinchcomb, man. E-Rob, CA, Cool Cal, Thad. I'm Coach I, man. Disrespect the Hedges, man. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.